afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is a masterclass for horn, French horn, designed for people in approximately junior high age, first, second, maybe third year. And so with that, we're going to talk about some very basic things because often your local band director may not be a horn player, and some of these are a little bit different. So one of the great differences about playing the horn is that our bell goes backwards, whereas trumpet, trombone, they point forwards, euphoniums and tubas may point up first, but this bell going backwards helps us to blend with other instruments, but it also causes sometimes problems in performance. At any rate, I want to talk first about embouchure, which is your lip setting. And with all of the other brass instruments, they'll use a lip setting of half top lip, half lower lip, kind of squared off in the middle. With horn, they usually say a 2/3 upper lip, 1/3 lower lip. And the way that you can find that is to take the rim of your mouthpiece and set it right where the flesh of your lip meets the flesh of your face, right on that ridge, and then tip up. And so I'm getting more top lip in than bottom lip. So why is that? Why would the horn have such a different embouchure? It's partly tradition, but it is also because we have the greatest range of any of the brass instruments. We can play 4 full octaves of notes. If I start at my middle C, I'm going to go down 2 octaves. So there's 2 octaves. I'm going to start at that middle C now and then go up. So we have the greatest range, so we need our more top lip in there to play that huge range. Most people will think of the lips as being like a double reed instrument, that they both vibrate, when in actuality it's really only the top lip that's vibrating. If I buzz my lips and run my finger across my lower lip, you'll see not much really happens. If I do the same thing on my top lip, you'll see that I really can stop it. So everything is happening right here, and that's why we need to get that inside the mouthpiece and to get the most success of our range. So really our F horn, if you're playing a single F horn, it's the same length of tubing as a tuba, an F tuba. But with a smaller mouthpiece, we play in greater partials of the range, using our lips only to play through the notes. I have more notes that I can play than, say, for a trumpet. In our main octave, a trumpet could play we can play a lot more in ours. So they would have a 1 in 3 chance of being accurate. We have to be accurate within a 1 in 5 chance, just in that main first octave. So it's important to have a good embouchure setting, 2/3 upper lip, 1/3 lower lip. And try that with your mouthpiece. Set the rim of your mouthpiece on where it meets the flesh of your lip, meets the flesh of your face, and tip up. And that should feel pretty normal. That should be your normal setting. If it's too far off from that, you want to try to make some adjustments. Okay, so that's the business end. On the other end, we have our hand in the bell. And usually what we do is tell people to have a cupped swimmer's hand position, like you're swimming. So I make my hand like this, and I usually tell people to use this joint on your thumb as kind of a guide of how far to go in. So I put it in till that knuckle on my thumb meets the bell, and that's my setting. Okay? So with that, if you're standing, I'm making kind of a triangle with my hand, and it sits, and I can hold the horn up this way. But most of you should be sitting. And usually when people get in late high school, college level, they'll start standing when they play. When I was first in college and going to horn workshops, all the Americans would play seated because that was their orchestral tradition. But all of the European soloists would play standing, and they really advocated that. If you went to a horn workshop now, you would see very few sitting except in ensembles. So let's talk about sitting with the horn. Okay, I'm seated now, and here's the thing. Where you are size-wise is not where you will be 5 years or so from now. I'm sure you're still growing. And I can still feel the groove on my leg for where the horn was when I was in 6th or 7th grade. I mean, that's how I was taught way back when. But if I played that way now, and I put that horn on my leg, and then tip it up, that's where it hits. So then I have to scrunch down and do all kinds of convoluted things, or one of my teachers said, get a guitar footstool to lift your foot up so it would fit your face. Eventually, you want to get away from that. But what I usually tell people is to set it on your face first, get your embouchure setting, and then just let the bell drop. And wherever it meets your leg, that's fine. So I can still find a fairly comfortable place. You want to make sure that you're not blowing into your body, even if I adjust it so it fits my face. If I do that, I don't know if you can hear that, but it makes kind of a dead sound, and your clothes will suck up some of the sound. And we already have the problem of our bell going backwards. So if anything, you want to get the bell off to the side a little bit, and then it helps the sound get out a little bit. Now, ladies who are wearing skirts, dresses, things, you would want to have a little bit off angle with your feet together. So that you're comfortable and not exposing things that you don't want. Okay, so that's holding the horn. So how do we start playing it? We do the buzzing, and we need to get used to where the pitches are on the horn, at least some to get started. And I've sent along some pieces to get you started. Okay, so we're going to try these strength builders for horn. And what we're trying to establish first is where our chord, C, E, G, fits. So if you can hear do, mi, so, mi, do. This first exercise uses those same pitches, just going down. You'll find that some brass players have a naturally high buzz and some have a lower buzz. So we kind of try to stretch it in both directions so that you get to have that big range. So this starts. Each time I add a finger, I'm adding a length of tubing, so that I first played it open, And when I do that, none of these valves are being used. When I press the second valve, it adds this length of tubing and makes the pattern of pitches lower. When I go to first valve, it uses this slide, makes it even lower. 1 and 2 adds them both together. 2 and 3 adds even more length. And so with each added length of tubing, I'm playing the same pattern of pitches. And so the lip movement is about the same for each. Now, it actually dates back to early brass training, that playing them tongued helps you develop accuracy. Playing them slurred helps you develop strength, because that movement of moving from one pitch to the next helps build the muscle. So I'm going to play the second one slurred. Notice a little different rhythm. And now I'm starting with all the length of tubing and gradually going higher. The idea is I make the tubing shorter, I'm using the same approximate lip activity, and so I'm learning to play higher without just muscling up. Just taking a good cleansing breath in between each one of these, just to let all of this muscle get the blood flowing back again. All right, the next one uses that same pattern of pitches I did, but we're adding a little bit more activity to it. And, I'll play this one tongued. Same pattern of pitches. So in the next one, number 4, I'm just adding one more note on top of this, and now I'm going to start getting some range. If you have a double horn, and not everyone in the junior high, actually in some high schools they don't have double horn, but if you have a double horn, you could keep going. After you had the open, you can add thumb 2 and 3, thumb 1 and 2, thumb 1, thumb 2, and thumb open. I'll take this one all the way through, and you'll see that from the very lowest one, which was an A sharp as the highest note, by the time I get through to thumb open, the high A, an octave higher almost, will be the highest note that I play. So this is a technique for developing range without beating yourself up. trying to build our range through this kind of technique of overlapping the harmonic series. The harmonic series are just whatever notes you get from this length of tubing that you have. All right. So let's look at the beginning scale studies. One of the things that all young musicians need to do is to learn scales. And on this sheet, you get used to what scale we play when you're in band and they say, okay, we're going to do the concert B flat scale or the concert whatever scale. So on the sheet, it has your scale. Notice the starting note always agrees with that. And then in parentheses, it says whatever the concert key is that goes with it. And by doing this kind of overlapping of fingerings, you'll get to improve your scales pretty quickly. So I'll just do a couple of these. So here's the C major scale, concert F. G goes down. Well, if I did G going up, it'd get really high. So we need to develop our low range too. So this is just an example of how you can work on low range. Just take the pattern and go down instead of up. So here's G or concert C. Sharp, get to move your second finger. Okay, so probably down at the bottom, the concert F is probably, or your F, the concert B flat, is probably the most common one to do, so I would advise you to learn that. If you have a double horn, then you'll want to make use of the whole thing. The stump valve, you have a fingering chart in your packet, and with that, normally when it gets to the A in the second line, then we add our thumb, and when you're coming down, we take the thumb off. So the notes A, B, and C are the same fingering. A flat, actually, A flat through C are the same whether the thumb is down or not. I'm going to play this F major, your concert B flat, and hopefully you can see my thumb. I'm going to stand a little bit so you can see where I add the thumb. Using your thumb, if you have one. There are different places in the range where we make that change. And once we change from the A all the way up, we use the B flat horn. And then down low, you would want to use it too if you go below the low F. Okay, there's one other, the fingering chart is probably the best one that I ever saw because it goes all the way up and all the way down. And most of your playing will be right in the middle of all of that. I also included a little cannons for horn, which is an opportunity to play some music together. I worked at a music camp for many, many years, and students would come just at your age, and they'd want to take 3 lessons in 1 week, and they wouldn't bring any music. But they had requirements for scales, and so I put together these cannons in all the keys that they had to learn their scales. And so they would come to their lessons and we'd work on these little pieces, and then we put them together as cannons with all the horns, and it was great fun. They could actually do horn ensemble. So if you have other horn players at your school, this is an opportunity to do some things together. And I found out a really cool thing, is that normally people think of themselves as, oh, I'm a first trumpet. And they're very proud of that. And someone else will think, oh, I'm just a third trumpet, and think not very well of themselves. But by playing cannons, everybody's playing the same thing. So there's no ego involved. There's no, I'm the best or that kind of attitude. So this is really great to play them. I'll just do the second one. We just did the F major scale, and here's a canon that goes with that. And notice where each of the numbers are. When the first person gets to that point, that's when the next person would take off. That's how these cannons work. It's kind of like row, row, row your boat. So that's the basic melody, and it kind of sounds like a cuckoo bird calling there at the end. So you get these trade-offs with the cuckoos between the second and third voices in. Try these out. Try to get some friends together. Maybe your band director can help you out with that. I think that's all our time for today.